Hi and welcome to this presentation, which is running through the Education and Training Early Learning Signpost from the National Lottery Community Fund Climate Action Fund. So this presentation is basically presenting an overview of some of the early learnings from some of the Climate Action Fund projects, which include elements of education and training as part of their projects. Clearly, the transition to net zero is going to require people to have the right information and skills, and lots of the Climate Action Fund projects include some kind of education or perhaps more formal training as part of what they're doing. In this learning output, we've captured learning on what works well from 4 of the projects, which have got quite different approaches to education and training. So the first project we looked at was the Green Meadows project in Nottingham, and that's open to all 5,000 people who live in the area of Nottingham called the Meadows. And the objective of this project is to enable climate action. The project is providing practical learning, training and advice with the objective of building a community that can tackle the climate crisis together. It's run by Nottingham Energy Partnership and Meadows Ozone Energy Services, both of which are based in the heart of the area called the Meadows. Their work has included running workshops on climate change and saving energy, which they've held in the local library. They've also tacked on a number of sustainability sessions to existing events, such as a sewing club, and they're offering practical DIY training sessions on topics such as installing insulation. Separate to the lottery funding, they've got funding from the Energy Redress Scheme to develop higher level courses to introduce tradespeople to the more technical aspects of retrofit. And they're also running a number of workshops with school pupils. In terms of their learning so far, there are a few things that they have found that work really well in terms of encouraging participation. And one of the key things is not to make the sessions too long. They started off with 90-minute sessions, which they think were too long in hindsight. They think 45 minutes for sessions for the general public is probably ample, and even shorter sessions can be quite effective. They've found that they get the best engagement when they're tagging onto existing groups rather than running standalone sessions. And they found that it works really well to run sessions for adults at the same time as local kids clubs are running, so the parents don't need to worry about what their children are up to. In terms of the format of the sessions, they've found that practical sessions are really popular, not too much theory, and getting the right level of detail is challenging because of the broad range of existing levels of information. But wherever possible, you want to tailor it to people and their needs if you can. To help engage a wider audience, they found that giving people things like a token for a bunch of vegetables from the community garden is a great way to initiate conversations and get people who might not normally engage with this kind of activity. And they found that some people were really keen on being able to actually access accredited training that might help them in terms of their future job prospects. So that's something that the project is currently investigating as an option for the future. The next project we looked at is called A Green and Healthy Frome, and this project is exploring how to help local people live lives which are good for their health as well as being good for the planet. And it's delivered by a number of organisations that are based in the Somerset town of Frome, including Adventure Frome, the Frome Medical Practice and the local town council. They're aiming to increase awareness of and involvement in a range of local initiatives, and they want to signpost people to all sorts of things that they can get involved in locally that will support their health as well as the health of the planet. And a key way that they're doing that is through establishing a network of green community connectors who can refer people through to the project partners for signposting to all these wonderful initiatives. People become a connector by attending a short training session. Training sessions are held monthly and they're free to anybody who lives locally. People can either attend an online session, which is run every month, or they can attend an in-person session, which is run every 2 to 3 months at venues such as church groups, Rotary groups, the library and the local college. They're also offering a number of sessions for particular groups or organisations, including clinicians and others who are in trusted positions. They've run 45 sessions so far, which has involved training up 180 green community connectors. In terms of their learning so far, one of the key things they've found is that it works best to make sessions bespoke and flexible to the needs of each group. To begin with, the sessions were designed to be a fixed 1-hour session, but they've evolved to become responsive to what that group needs. The idea is that the trainer will establish the knowledge of the group at the outset and will build on that rather than delivering a one-size-fits-all approach. And they've again found that 45 minutes is really the maximum you want for a general public session. Going out to people rather than expecting them to come to you works well, so tag on to existing events rather than putting something on and expecting people to come to that. Very similar to the previous project on that learning. In terms of content, they found that people really want content that focuses on the local area. Don't have too many statistics, make it accessible to all, including people with learning difficulties, people who don't have English as their first language, and to younger people. So having highly visual materials really helps with that. And they found it's really helpful to have something in place to refer people to before you start, so they have somewhere to go for support or information on the action that they want to take. So map out what's available and make sure that that's clear to people before you get started. Building on what's already there works very well. So they're really building on their local social prescribing that the GP practices are doing, which is very active in that area. But every GP practice will have someone working on social prescribing. So that's a good initiative to link in with. And in order to be able to understand the impact of your initiative, you need to be able to capture good data from the outset. Our third project is Climate Challenge College, and this is a little bit different because this is offering much more in-depth training, a course for people, the Green Futures course, which is designed for anybody over the age of 16. It's a sustainability taster course designed to develop practical skills. The course is based at Todd College, which is a learning centre and community hub in the town of Todmorden in West Yorkshire. It's free of charge. They've had about 10 people per cohort, with about 70% of people completing the course, and admission is via an interview. They have 4 modules that participants complete, one on understanding the climate challenge, another on energy, another on food and land, and the final one on natural building. Their early learning includes allowing enough time for recruitment to a course like this. They said ideally you'd have 6 to 8 months to recruit people. Because of the timing of their funding and the academic year, they had to try and recruit their first cohort much more quickly than that, which wasn't ideal. And they found that word of mouth is by far the most effective means of promotion. So as the course becomes established, it's become easier and easier to recruit people to the course. In terms of how to admit people, they want to make this course as inclusive as possible, and they found that informal group interviews are really popular, much more so than having some kind of one-to-one interview process, which can be very intimidating. And in future, they'd like to include a practical activity as part of the interview process, so people really fully understand the sorts of activities they're going to be involved in and can check that it's the right kind of course for them. Pastoral care is absolutely essential on a course like this. Sustainability values are core to the college, and that involves the sustainability of people as well as with the planet. So they really go the extra mile with every student, offering an excellent level of pastoral care. In terms of the objectives and format, the critical thing is to make sure these are very clear to participants at the outset, but also to ensure that they're flexible and responsive. So you concentrate on one topic at a time. They started off by basically offering a bit of each topic each week to kind of mix it up and keep it very varied. But the feedback was very clear that participants found that a bit confusing, and they'd much rather have a few weeks focusing on just one topic before moving on to another topic. Thinking again about accessibility, so as we mentioned with the previous case study, presenting information in different formats, and also supporting students in relation to logistical challenges such as childcare, as well as support around things like mental health is really important. They found in general for their participants, you should never have more than 1 hour in the classroom at a time and have lots of hands-on activity. And our final case study is Growing Resilience, which is a project running over 4 years in Calderdale. In this project, the Calder Rivers Trust is running a rural engagement project, raising awareness amongst local landowners and land managers of how they can improve their business through taking a more environmentally friendly approach. And in parallel with this, the local council is running a project to grow sphagnum moss through a community citizen science programme. Sphagnum moss is great for carbon capture and also offers great flooding resilience because it acts as a giant sponge. So they're doing this through getting together with local landowners once a month through group meetings with a guest speaker at each meeting, plus one-to-one free and confidential advice with a report for the landowner which suggests interventions they could take which would have financial benefits for them as well as environmental benefits. And the Sphagnum Moss project involves seeking out information to increase knowledge about how to most effectively grow this type of moss. Their learning so far, absolutely critical for this kind of project, is to really understand your audience. So they found that their advisors need to really understand farming and the farming world to be seen as credible and to be able to engage effectively with local landowners. Linked to this, it's really important to be led by your audience and what they need. So when the project started off, they were thinking about what can we get landowners to do? And now they've completely flipped that around to how can we support landowners and how they run their business. On the promotion and engagement, they found that the monthly sessions work well. They make them informative and engaging and convenient. And they invite speakers along who farmers will really benefit from hearing about. So they're held at a local golf club and lunch is provided a pie and a pint, which makes them particularly popular. Confidentiality is absolutely critical with this audience. They're working with farmers, they're working with farmers as business people, and having that integrity of really putting the farmer first in everything you do. They've said that's really important in getting farmers on board. So that's the 4 Climate Action Fund projects we looked at. We're just also including some learnings from another Climate Action Fund project, or rather I should say another community fund project that wasn't actually funded through the Climate Action Fund, but has some relevant learnings. So the Our Bright Future programme is a programme that's designed to create opportunities for young people in green jobs. And this is the summary of their learning from the work that they've done with young people. So many of these chime with the findings from our projects. So things like offering flexible, bespoke, tailored training that suits the needs of those young people, having a wide range of options to appeal to a range of interests. They found that having a high staff to participant ratio is really important, and obviously you need experienced and appropriately skilled staff. They found that for some young people you need to be able to offer a longer duration of support in addition to the actual training that you're offering, and offering intensive support around things like confidence building to enable greater skills attainment. And that's particularly important for those who've come from disadvantaged backgrounds. Thinking about how you can actively remove engagement barriers is important, I think, for all these projects. So that might be through grants or removing logistical barriers, things like access to transport to the training. And having open-ended provision in a different learning environment to aid skills attainment is particularly important for school-aged participants. So that's the summary of the learning from the individual projects, and then just bringing those all together, we can sum those up into a number of do's and don'ts. So first of all, in terms of the do's, go out to your audience and tag on to existing events where possible. That should help you engage people who might not otherwise get involved in these types of projects. Tailor the training to the interests and needs of the audience wherever you can, both in terms of subject matter, but also in terms of location, format, and length. If you can, offer different times to suit different people. Some people would rather attend something at a weekend, Some people during an evening, perhaps. Offering some kind of refreshments or another incentive to take part can be really effective in increasing engagement. And offering accredited training which might support participants in their future employment prospects can be very popular. Have a next step lined up, such as an opportunity for participants to take part in further training, or get involved in a project, or sign up to become a climate change community champion. And make training materials highly visual with simple language so they're accessible to the widest possible audience. And finally, don't forget to capture good data so you can track the impact of your training. And in terms of the don'ts, don't make the training sessions too long. 45 minutes is probably the maximum for the general public sessions. Even 15 minutes can be effective. Don't start to offer the training until you've got something concrete you can offer as a next step. And finally, don't have rigid ideas about the format of the training. It's a good idea to pilot sessions if you can, and then tailor them based on feedback before rolling them out. And there you have it. That's the early learning from the Climate Action Fund projects on what works well in terms of offering training and education sessions. Thank you very much.